Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode. We're working on Unit 3, Lessons 3 and 4. Our topic of the day is still great jobs. Let's get started with our learning objectives. We're going to describe, compare people, places, and events. We're going to identify gist, which is the main idea in a short listening text. We will gather information from different sources and we will answer questions. We will write informative and narrative texts, and we will ask and answer questions derived or brought from the text. Now, let's look at number 1. Work in pairs, discuss your family history. Do you know much about your family history? What things do you know? You can think about your grandparents, you can ask your parents, and you can discuss with your partner. Would you like to learn more about your family history? Why or why not? Some people would prefer to know more about their family history so that they learn more about genetics and specific things that their grandparents and great-grandparents went through. What about you? Would you like to learn more or not, and why? Now we're going to go into our vocabulary section. Complete the sentences with a word from the box. Use a dictionary if necessary. So the first word is charity. Charity is basically giving to the poor. Countryside is like a local farm area or a small village that has a lot of plants, trees, sheep, cattle, and so on. Emergency, if something is an emergency, that means it is very important to be done right now, or maybe somebody is in a dangerous situation, so it is an emergency, something very urgent. Natural disaster. A natural disaster is anything that is not man-made, anything that is brought by nature, such as hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes. Proud. If I feel proud, I feel happy and very content with what I do or how I am like. A volunteer, or to volunteer, is to help out others without expecting anything in return. We can also use volunteer as a noun to describe the person who helps without anything in return. Let's look at number 1. It's already done for us. A terrible event such as an earthquake is a natural disaster. Number 2. The blank is the area outside a city where there are farms and lots of nature. So what is that? A place where has a lot of farms, animals, and plants. Of course, this is a countryside. Number 3, a or an helps people who are poor, sick, or don't have a home. This is, of course, a charity. So a charity is basically an organization that helps people who need money or don't have food or are sick, and so on. Number 4, a or an blank is someone who works for no money to help people. Of course, this is a noun of volunteer. Number 4 is volunteer. Number 5, if you are blank of someone, you feel pleased with them. This is because you think that they are or they have done something very good. Of course, you feel proud. Number 6, a or an is something serious or dangerous that you need to do something about. So if somebody is hurt, that's an emergency. So number 6 is emergency, something serious or something dangerous that you must do something about. It's a situation. So an emergency is a noun. It is used as a noun as a part of speech. Now we will move to the listening section. We're going to listen to Yasser talking about his family history, and then we're going to answer questions. Number 1, which person in his family is Yasser talking about? Number 2, what job did the person do? Let's listen and check for answers.
I didn't used to know very much about my family history. Then, last week, I did a school project about someone in my family, so I did some research and I found out some really interesting things about my great-grandfather. I knew he used to be a doctor, but I didn't know he worked for a charity. My great-grandfather used to live in the countryside and he worked as a volunteer doctor for the Red Crescent when there was a natural disaster or a health emergency. For example, when there was an earthquake, my great grandfather went to help. The work was difficult and sometimes even scary. He also used to look after people who didn't have much money. I feel very proud of him.
Now let's answer question 1. Which person in his family is Yasser talking about? Of course, he is talking about his great grandfather. Number 2, what job did the person do? What did his grandfather do? He was a doctor. Now you can rewind and listen one more time in order to complete the sentences. Number 1 is done for you. Yasser was doing a school project on someone in his family. Number 2, Yasser's great grandfather lived in the countryside. He was a blank for the Red Crescent. Here, he was a volunteer, so he helped without anything in return. Number 4, he helped when there was a disaster or a health emergency. So an emergency is something urgent that is dangerous. He was helping at those moments. Number 5, Yasser is very blank of his great grandfather. Yasser is very, of course, proud of his great grandfather. Now we're going to focus on our language section, used to. Now, when Yasser was researching his family history, he found out some other interesting information. Complete the sentences with used to or didn't used to. Now, let's look at the grammar box below. Use used to talk about habits that were true in the past, but are not true now. So we use positive statements such as he used to live in the countryside. And negative statements such as I didn't used to know much about my family history. And we can ask a question by saying, did he used to live in Cairo? And then we can say, yes, he did, or no, he didn't. Or where did he used to live? Now, let's complete exercise 6, question 2. Before Yasser's dad got married, he not live in Cairo. The answer is he didn't used to live in Cairo. He lived in the countryside. Number 3, Yasser's uncle blank live in Tunisia. The answer is used to. Yasser's uncle used to live in Tunisia. He doesn't anymore. Number 4, when Yasser's mom was a child, she blank play the piano every day. She used to play the piano every day. That means that she did it in the past, but not anymore. Number 5, before Yasser's grandfather had children, he not know how to drive a car. He didn't used to know how to drive a car. Good job, guys. We're going to move on to our speaking section. I'd like you to work in pairs and make sentences about the people in the pictures using used to. So in the past, there was a man and probably his wife or his fiance. They had a yellow car in the year 2000, but now they have a light purple or lilac car and they've got 2 children. They used to have a small car. They didn't used to have a big car. You can say, they didn't used to have children, but now they have children. Create your own sentences based on the pictures. You can also describe the girl. She had long hair in the year 2000, but now she has short hair. And the man has a beard. In the past, in the year 2000, he didn't used to have a beard. Now, these are suggestions that you can read, but it is best to create your own. Now we will move on to exercise 8. Complete these questions for your partner about when he or she was 10. When you were 10, did you used to live in a different house? Now let's try to create a question for number 2. Blank have any different hobbies? Did you used to have any different hobbies? Number 3. Did you used to walk to school? And number 4. Did you used to have the same friends? You can always share your answers with your partner. Now we will move on to our writing section. We will ask and answer questions from exercise 8 in pairs and make note of our partner's answer. So what are we going to do now? We will read the questions on the upper right-hand side, and then our partner is going to answer them, and we will take notes of their answers. Now, when I'm giving notes, do I need to write a complete sentence? Not necessarily. We can write answers in bullet points, so we can make our sentences very short. Let's continue. Now, I'd like you to write a short paragraph about your partner when he or she was 10. Use the answers to the questions in exercise 9 to help you write the paragraph. Now, I'd like you to work in pairs. Match the parts of the body to their functions. We have brain, heart, lungs. And on the right-hand side, they take in air and help us to breathe. B, it tells the parts of our body what to do. C, it pumps blood around the body. Now, the first one is done for us, so brain is B. It tells the parts of our body what to do. The brain tells our body parts what to do. What about the heart? What do you think the heart does? Of course, it pumps blood around the body. So 2C. 2C. As for number 3, the lungs take in air to help us breathe. And this is 3A. Good job, guys. We're going to move on to our next part, the article. Which parts of the body did ancient Egyptian doctors understand some things about? Let's read it together. Ancient Egyptian doctors. We know how ancient Egyptian doctors helped their patients because they wrote down their ideas thousands of years ago. The body. Ancient Egyptian doctors understood that the heart pumps or pushes the blood around the body. However, they used to think that the heart also pumped air to our lungs. They were also the first people to understand some of the things that the brain does, but they didn't know how important it was. Ways to help. Doctors used to use plants to help people with burns and to stop infections. We still use some of these plants today. They also know how to mend broken bones and sew cuts. But they didn't used to know everything. For example, they used to make medicine from animal eyes. They used to think that an animal's eye helped people who could not see. Now, let's look at the words in bold. The body, pumps, ways to help, infections, and cuts. Now, which parts of the body did ancient Egyptian doctors understand some things about? Of course, they understood things about the heart and the brain, but not everything. Read the article again. Are these sentences true or false? Number 1, ancient Egyptian doctors used to write about their work. This is, of course, true. That's how we knew that ancient Egyptian doctors existed. Number 2, the doctors understood everything about how the heart works. Did they really know everything about the heart? Of course, they did not. That's false. They thought it pumped air to our lungs. Number 3, they thought the brain was very important. This is false. They didn't know how important it was. Number 4, some of the medicines we use today are the same as the ones they used in ancient Egypt. This is, of course, true. And number 5, we learned how to help people to see from the ancient Egyptians. This is false. They thought medicine from an animal's eye could help. So number 5 is false. Now we're going to jump to our speaking section. Let's read question 1 and then the speech bubbles. How do we know about ancient Egyptian doctors? We know about ancient Egyptian doctors because they wrote down their ideas. Number 2, what did they used to know about the heart? They understood that the heart pumps blood around the body. They also thought that the heart pumped air to our lungs. Number 3, what did they used to do or used to help patients with? They used to help plants to help people with burns to stop infections. And they knew how to mend broken bones and sew cuts. Number 4, are you proud of ancient Egyptian doctors? Yes or no, and why? Now for our exit slip or exit ticket. Write 3 things you used to do and 3 other things you didn't used to do 3 years ago. Now, once you're done, put the words in meaningful sentences. The words are countryside, emergency, proud, and volunteer. Okay, guys, that's a wrap. This was Ms. Sarah Bassioni. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.